Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Spellbinders newsletter report from G. Edward Griffin from the unfiltered news from the reality zone where political correctness is not spoken here, compiled by G. Edward Griffin himself. This is the man for January 18th through the 24th of 2014. I had to do this over again because the last time I did it, for some reason the volume wasn't recorded, and I got that fixed. The comic strip for this week is, "But have you caught any terrorists?" Yeah, they did. They caught the government. That's why the government can't do anything. Congress can't do anything. Senate can't do anything. All the skeletons in the closet is known by the NSA. Don't you know? Here we go to the headlines for this week. Monsanto's Bt toxin from pesticides used on GMO crops are showing up in pregnant women and killing human embryo cells. Yet because the chemical and the agricultural industry spend millions each year on funding legislators and regulatory agencies, the toxic chemical remains in use. Natural Society, January 24th. Monsanto is still alive and well. We cannot seem to stop these above-the-law criminals creating human rat poison. That's what I call it, because it's killing people, making you ill, making the pharmaceutical companies happy, who make also poisons and give it out to the public, along with the doctors who are taught by the pharmaceutical companies, who you think writes their textbooks in the colleges. Anyways, video. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder says that if Edward Snowden pleads guilty to federal espionage charges, the Department of Justice will negotiate the penalty upon his return to the U.S. Really? You're going to be fair with him? Hell, that guy's a hero. You guys should be locked up in a dark cell in Leavenworth for the rest of your existence, and he should be honored. The DOJ's change of heart appears to be motivated by dread of what additional information Snowden may yet release by Snowden's popularity. CNN, January 23rd. Yeah, Snowden's a hero. He's actually out there telling you that these creatures are doing this to you. They're violating your Fourth and Fifth Amendments. They're getting away with it, and they're criminals, and they should be rounded up as such. Continuation story. Edward Snowden held a live question and answer session on the internet explaining the proper balance between security and privacy. He says he will not return home at this time because he cannot get a fair trial in the U.S. and make his case to a jury under the current whistleblower laws. Free Snowden, January 23rd. Well, of course not. If you're a whistleblower, you're a criminal now for telling the truth about the criminal activities of this government. This government is not a true government. If they're not following the Constitution, they're not following the Bill of Rights, they are null and void. They are not to be followed. That 60-mile square area called Washington District of Criminal, you don't have to follow their laws. That's a fact. An absolute fact. The only laws you have to follow is the state laws. God, that's fucked up. Alright, let's go on to the next. A software analyst informed Google that its Chrome web browser speech recognition application continues to record everything you say near your computer even when the program is turned off. 4 months later, Google still has not fixed the bug, possibly because it has an arrangement with the government not to do so. Prison Planet, January 23rd. Of course, that's what NSA is all about. Gathering information on you so they can incriminate you later for any infraction you make upon them or whistleblow upon them. It's criminals. I'm telling you, we got a bunch of criminals, cronies, running everything, and they're being led by what? What other than the industrial military complex, or even the 5 corporations that run the planet. If you're not paying attention to that, you're not understanding. They're shutting everything down. It's mom and pop. don't you know? So you have to go to the family, go to the, the company store to get everything. Video. The Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, managed by the executive branch of the government, says that spying by the NSA, FBI, and other agencies is illegal. Underline that, illegal, and that such programs must end. The five-member panel also said that spy programs have failed to make a difference in any counterterrorism investigations. Exactly. They are not doing anything but collecting money and having a party on your behalf. Next News Network, January 23rd. Here comes another criminal activity. Abomination Care, or Obamacare, will expand the number of people who will be subject to a debt law that allows states to seize assets from the hirers of people who were enrolled in Medicaid between the ages of 55 and 64. They're going to rob your family. They're going to take away all the money you would inherited from your mom and pop. Don't you understand? Fox, January 23rd. They're criminals. These people are absolutely... The death tax is illegal and should be... The people that came up with that should be taken out. Oh, never mind. Video. Ukrainian. A temporary truce has been called after extensive riots and violence led to the Prime Minister saying that he and his cabinet will resign if the Parliament finds them incompetent next week. Russia Today, January 23rd. Man, just all over the planet. It's not just in the U.S., it's everywhere. We have a world of psychopaths and sociopaths running everything. And they need to be rounded up. There's about 3,000 of them. Need to be rounded up, tried, and whatever has to be done. Tennessee has joined 8 other states in rejecting NSA's unconstitutional spying program. The Tennessee's Fourth Amendment Protection Act is taking aim at the Oak Ridge facility now operating within the Tennessee borders, which is building super-fast computers that can crack any encryption. Ben Swan, January 22nd. The only problem with that is Mike Rivero on his radio show has come up with an encryption. Just say he made it up because he's computer savvy, and he had this computer savvy thing, and he made this encryption code, sent it to the NSA, and challenged them to break his code. Well, he's never heard back from them because they can't break his code. They can only break the codes on the off-the-shelf software you install on your computer. That's it. They can't break a real encryption. NSA whistleblowers Edward Snowden will be asked Russian law enforcement to protect him after assassination threats by the U.S. officials were published in the American press. Russia Today, January 21st. Well, of course, if you're, U.S. officials, you have something to hide you don't want the public to know about because it's criminal and it could put you in Leavenworth for the rest of your frickin' lives. Of course they're mad at him. They're mad because he's revealing how criminal they are and how much they should be put in prison. These people need to be locked up immediately in our government because they're doing criminal activity and he's exposing it. There should be more whistleblowers, since the news, being the third whatever rank of the government, the news should be reporting this. Well, the MSM is paid off, the mainstream media. They're all paid off not to tell you the truth. They don't have to tell you the truth. That was decided in 1999 in a court case with two people, a man and a woman, in Fox News, who came out with the bovine growth hormone that causes cancer and breast cancer to women. And it's in the milk, it's in the meat, and you're eating this stuff. And they tried to bring this forward back then. Oh well, they took it to court when they were fired by their news agency, and they brought it up, and the judge said, yes, the news media is allowed to lie to the public. In other words, you're not watching anything but an entertainment box. The news doesn't have to be real news, only when they want it to be. Do you not see what's going on yet? If you don't, you're not paying attention. Videos. Standard & Poor's financial rating service has accused the Obama administration of political retaliation. The company says that the Justice Department filed a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against them after they downgraded the U.S. credit rating in 2011. S&P's chairman says that former Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner verbally threatened his company with consequences over the downgrade. Fox, January 21st. More criminality, like Madoff with the money. Madoff was the fall guy for all this. He was just a fall guy. There's 20 or 30 other people that should have been arrested along with him and thrown in jail for criminal activity. We should not bail out to whatever to bail out. I mean, to fail. These people should have been allowed to fail and their companies picked up by somebody else to come up behind them and make things right. But no. Not in the U.S. government today. The U.S. government's compliant with fascism. Don't you know that's a term of fascism? Fascism is corporates running the government and the government being compliant with the corporates. And that's what we got. So you're looking at fascism. It's been going on for like 20 years. Next. Sweden and Denmark are scaling back their socialist policies because of economic necessity. In other words, socialism and their standards is not working because socialism never works. None of these isms work, except for maybe capitalism if it's used in the right term from cronyism. Capitalism is you and me making a product and going out and selling it and making the profit and keeping that profit for ourselves. Say I build birdhouses. I go out and sell my birdhouses. I keep the money and everything, don't have to pay tax on it. Because why should you when the government's supposed to be having import taxes, which they now call free trade? No, it should be fair trade. They threw that out the window, fair trade, and kept this free trade, which means they have to come to you and vulturize you for your money for taxes. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Because of a substantial reduction in the income tax and shift is popular, however, leftist politicians and those on the dole are fighting hard against the trend. Well, of course they are. They're fucking leeches. They're damn ticks on the back of America or any other country. They're a tick on them. They sit back and collect money sitting around on their asses doing nothing. They don't put nothing into society at all. They just sit back and say, well, I'm above that. I'm steering this madness called socialism and stuff. I don't have to work. I sit back and you put me in here to steer everything. No, we didn't. We put you in here to do a job, servant. Yes, they're the servant, not us. Why are we become the servant? Yahoo, January 21st. It really gets under my skin to know the truth about all this. The richest 85 people in the world have more wealth than half of the world's population. More leeches. The wealth of the top 1% global elite equals 110 trillion. 110 trillion, I repeat that, and the ongoing upward transfer of wealth caused by debt and inflation is increasing the gap every day. This is driven by collectivism. In other words, leeches. Not capitalism, which is you and me together doing a service for each other. That's what capitalism is. I mean, there's Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is a very good idea where everyone does. I mean, I could have a guy build a house for me, and I in turn do electrical work on houses that he's building. And between us, I get a free house, he gets free electrical installed. You see how this is working? The baker bakes bread. The farmer gets the bread who raises the grain. See how that works? That's Ubuntu. And just look up Ubuntu.org, South Africa, Michael Tellinger, and you'll understand this whole concept of how things should be working. We really don't need pieces of paper or pieces of wood and stuff to work with. All we need to do is share our skills with each other and we all get everything without paying a dime for it. And it's real. It's absolutely real. True free enterprise capitalism has not existed in the world for almost 100 years now. Do you understand that? Economic collapse, January 21st. I mean, I'm trying to get the idea out there of Ubuntu because I understand that. That sounds great. I'd love to do electrical work for anybody building houses, buildings, whatever. Do electrical work for them to get their projects done. In turn, I get my projects of doing electrical work done. We all, and then the builder builds me a place. I put my own electrical in, and he puts his electrical. I do the electrical for his place. No money exchanged. It's better than even bartering. I mean, the whole thing is everybody works for everybody, and we get everything for free. And it gets to a point once this is all established, Ubuntu, we all work 3 hours a week. And the rest of the time is free time for you to sit back and relax, read books, do experimental projects. Say you want to do invention, uh, or just improvement. We could have free energy today if we was on a system like that. No, not with the governments of the world who are greedy and work with the banksters and usury. Another leech out there, the banksters, ticks on the universe. Those guys do nothing but sit around, play golf, and whatnot. They live high off the hog while we're out there punching and banging and whatever to get, working every day, have no time to ourselves. And these banksters sit back and they just go, I'm sitting back living the life of a billionaire. It must be nice. Too bad you don't share, bastards. Anyways, video. U.S. Naval Academy in Science says that China pollution caused by manufacturing is blowing over to the U.S. and doubling the amount of air pollution in California. The irony is that shifting manufacturing out of the U.S. has not reduced U.S. air pollution as much as was thought. Russia Today, January 21st, and it's true, they're over there, they don't have any scrubbers, they have no EPA, they tell them they have to have scrubbers. Over here we had scrubbers. I mean, our coal plants were actually clean coal plants. Obama turns around, shuts them down, says we got to have more nuclear reactions so we can have more Fukushimas and Chernobyls in case of a CME comes upon us. That's what I'm seeing coming. There's 400 and something reactors worldwide. We have a CME of a significant size come off the sun out there, or somebody flying over and detonating a nuclear weapon 175 miles above Kansas. That's just for the U.S. The power goes out. How long do you think it's going to be before the fuel runs out for the nuclear reactors generators? And then they go critical and melt down and become China syndromes, just like there is already. It's just unbelievable. China is producing smog at 20 times the safe level. Visibility in Beijing is down to a half mile. Imagine that. Vatican Monsignor Nunzio Scenario was arrested for money laundering. He had transferred millions of fictitious donations through his accounts at the Vatican and used it to pay off the mortgage on property he owned. His lawyer says that the Monsignor took donations from people he believed to be acting in good faith to a fund of a home for the terminally ill. Scenario already is on trial for trying to smuggle 26 million from Switzerland into Italy. American Press, or the Associate Press, January 21st. Next, Qatar. In Qatar, a country that is an enemy of Syrian President Assad's regime, funded an investigation of an unidentified defectors' photos of people that he claims were tortured, starved, and executed by Assad. The intended outcome of the investigation is to convict Assad of war crimes by the UN International Criminal Court and shape the world opinion to favor a humanitarian invasion and kill more civilians of Syria by Western forces. Whether or not the photos are of Assad's victims or victims or victims of rebel forces cannot be verified. It is all dependent upon the reliability of the unknown defector. Our advice is to hold off judgment until more facts are known about the defector and the investigating team. The photos were released just days after the MIT study was published that concluded that Assad's forces were innocent of carrying out the chemical attack in Ghouta. Infowars, January 21st. This guy is loved by his people. They're going to re-elect him in the next election. Assad is loved by his people. So if he's out there torturing his people and killing them off, you think they'd put him back in there? Hell no. These so-called Syrian rebels are really mercenaries. And they've been paid to go in there and destroy the country from the inside so the Western world with Israel can march into Iran then. It's the gateway to Iran. And they know it is. And there's also a pipeline deal that's under conflict there. They want to run a pipeline through Syria up to, I guess up to the Mediterranean or somewhere up in that area, and they want to run it through the property there. Well, they're not allowing it to happen because Israel's involved, and everyone in the Middle East hates Israel. You know why they hate Israel? Because Israel's killing people, just left and right. They're shooting children. They're killing the Palestinians. These people have been there for a long time. They've been there longer, let's put it this way, they've been there longer than 1947 and 48, when Israel was established after World War II. They have the right to be there as well, and they should work together, not be in conflict. The lilies came down from Central Asia. They took over the territory because that's where they chose to go to after World War II. And these are people who are only 2% Jewish. They brought a bunch of rabbis up there to southern Russia. They brought rabbis up and they converted supposedly to Judaism. Well, today they don't act Judea. If they followed their own religion, they would not be killing the people around them. That's the fact, Jack. Makes me mad, man. I mean, we have Netanyahu sitting there like a rabid dog, going woof, 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 woof every week since 1985. There's something wrong with him mentally. Saying they're going to have a nuclear weapon next week. They're going to have a nuclear in 2 months. They're going to have a nuclear weapon. He's been doing this since 1985. Iran has not had a battle outside their territory in 200 years. But who has been an aggressor in the territory of the Palestinians? Israel and the Israelites that came there and established their so-called utopian and believe that they're above God in the universe. They really do. They think they're above God. They're an Aryan race is what they are. They're actually an Aryan race. Get that through your head. They're worse than the Nazis. They don't, it's against the law for them to breed outside their kind. They cannot breed outside their kind, but yet they own Hollywood. Look at the names of the studios and who owns them, CEOs and others. It's all Jewish names. And they always show black and white people together. They show Mexican and white people, Mexican and black people, whatever. They stick all these other races together to make a Heinz 57, but yet they want to be the pure race so they can say, look, we're the pure race of God. Yeah, that's what they're up to, and if you're not paying attention, you don't see that. Makes me mad sometimes. I'll call a spade a spade. I will. And I'm not like Alex Jones, who bats around the question of the Israelis, the Mossad and everything. I'll actually name them out, because I know they're behind everything. They were behind 9/11. They had the dancing Mossad that a lady called up the police on because they were out there filming the buildings and stuff and the planes hitting, and they were set up there and they knew it was coming, and they set up there and then were dancing on top of their van and everything and having a celebration. She looked out her window, took a camera and actually videotaped them dancing and enjoying themselves with their cameras set up and everything of the buildings falling, and they were arrested and sent back to Israel without charges for whatever reason. Because they're Mossad, I guess. When you're Mossad, you're above the law of the Americans. I mean, give me a bloody break. Anyways, video. Russia, an Islamic military group, has claimed responsibility for the two suicide bombings last month in Volgograd. They also threatened President Putin and visitors to the Olympic Games with a present which is assumed to be another attack. Meanwhile, preparations for the Olympic continues. AFP, January 20th. Yeah, we got a bunch of hired mercenaries out there doing all types of stuff. Video, Ukraine. As many as 100,000 protesters gathered to oppose new laws against anti-government demonstrations. The demonstrations rapidly became violent and the police have not been able to control them. The president now wants to hold the talks with the opposition leaders to stop the violence. BBC, 2014, January 20th. See, they're having that because just what they said. You're not allowed to challenge your government on grievances. That's all it was about. They were challenging their government on grievances. They just wanted grievances taken care of. The U.S. forced the UN to revoke its invitation to the Iran to attend a so-called peace conference on the crisis in Syria because Iran refused to agree in its advance that the Syrian President Assad must be driven from power. In other words, the verdict first, discussion later. Lew Rockwell, January 20th. Oh yeah, they want him out of there. He's too much in their way. He won't bend over to their wishes of giving him, making that a satellite base, another part of the Roman Empire that we have going all over the world, which is getting ready to collapse, of course, because just like Rome, America has spread itself out too far across the planet, and it's starting to crumble. These people are pulling out of the petrodollar so fast and going to their own money that they can't go in and do anything anymore. That's why we're losing the war all over the world, because they're trying to save the petrodollar across the planet, and too many people are now pulling out at the same time. And it's like, see, that's what happened to Rome, and they're not seeing it. And if they are seeing it, they're trying to do whatever they can to propagandize that these people are the enemy now of the planet. They want to pull out. Look, China's the enemy. Look, Russia's the enemy, because China wants to go to the yuan, Russia wants to go back to its currencies, and they're suddenly becoming an enemy because they're not backing up the banksters of the world, banksters, the Rockefeller and the Rothschilds. That's what it's all about. Banker wars. That's what banker wars is all about. All wars are banker wars. See Mike Rivero's article. See Mike Rivero's video on YouTube. All wars are banker wars. Watch that, understand it. It's a 15-minute summary, and it tells you everything you need to know about the banksters, which are gangsters who created banks. Anywho, video, Delaware whistleblower Everett Stern, who served as an anti-money laundering compliance officer at the HSBC, explains how he discovered the bank was funding Hamas and Hezbollah and Al-Qaeda and drug cartels while defrauding the U.S. government. He's asking for a new investigation into banking because Eric Holder, another criminal, should be arrested immediately and thrown in Leavenworth, and the Department of Justice and anyone involved there have failed to prosecute too big to jail criminals who have not had to face punishment for their crimes. Russia Today, January 20th. I'm telling you, these just 3,000 people, if they were arrested and sent to jail or whatever crimes they have done and punished for them, the rest of them out of that 3,000 would run to the hills, and we'd have a jubilee of unimaginable proportion, and everything would become paradise-like just because of that. Because we got rid of 3,000 criminal-minded psychopaths and sociopaths. They're running everything, and it just makes me mad. Video, UK, the BBC staff knew about the TV presenter Jimmy Savel's sexual abuse of up to 1,000 children, but did nothing to stop it. Because of that, the network is open to lawsuits. Press TV, January 19th, and they should be prosecuted for that. If they knew any evidence of this, they were harboring a criminal, a pedophile criminal. But yet that's okay. There's a lot of people in high places who are pedophiles, apparently. And that's why he got away with what he got away with. California Governor Jerry Brown made an official declaration of emergency because of the state is in the worst drought of its history. His declaration will allow him to divert water to farms that supply half of the produce that the U.S. S.J. Mercury News, January 18th. Yes, actually, Rense.com actually had a photo on there at one point. It's not on there now. You may be able to find it if you look around on his site. A link to it. It showed last year in January it was green in the Fernando Valley and stuff, and this year where it's all brown and looks desert. It looks like Nevada. I mean, it looks like a desert, and it's because they cut the water off, and a lot of this stuff the water was cut off to the farmers, and that's why it dried up like it did. I'm saying, well, we don't got the water for you to grow your crops. That's part of the Environmental Protection Agency doing the evil thing. They're a two-edged sword, and they've been doing the blunt end of the sword on the population for a while now. The sharp end is this point where they allow everything because of reason and not because of greed. Anyways, video. Syria has become the largest producer and consumer of the banned amphetamine drug, Captagon. It is estimated that over $1 billion in revenue from the drug is being used by both sides to buy weapons and fund the war. Russia Today, January 18th, and they got a new drug like methamphetamine over there, and it's big market for it, just like it is over here. They give methamphetamine to our soldiers. You didn't know that? That's where it came from to begin with. But this is, that's pharmaceutical grade methamphetamine, not the under your sink Drano methamphetamines. I mean, there's a difference in these amphetamines, but they do the same effect. They cause psychosis and stuff after a while. You start seeing shadow people and all that stuff. Anyways, a new study from MIT professor and a former UN weapons inspector reveals that the claim by the Obama administration regarding the August 2013 chemical attack on Syria cannot be true. The claim is that the rocket that delivered the deadly chemicals were launched by Assad's forces from within territory held by the government. However, under analysis of the type of rocket used shows that it did not have significant range to cover the distance required. Furthermore, it is well known that the anti-government forces, the mercenaries, much closer to the area of the attack, were in possession of exactly the same kind of chemicals and rockets that were used in the attack. Digital Journal posted January 18th, and it was the mercenaries again that actually pulled that off, tried to make it look like it was the Syrian government, who the people love, and that's the truth. The people love their government. They're going to put him back in there again. Now, when the election comes and he's back in there, are you still going to believe that the people hate him over there and want him ousted and want us to come in and intervene and throw our children on the bayonets of that country? No, you're not going to believe a damn word of it. You shouldn't believe anything. Afghanistan, the rest of it. It's war of minerals, money, conquest over raw materials and oil. Again, all wars are banker wars. I have to repeat that again. Video, North Carolina. A mining and energy committee voted anonymously to prevent the public from knowing what chemicals are being used in fracking, though those same chemicals are now flowing down the Ohio River into the Mississippi from Virginia where that leak happened. It started out to be a thing they clean oil with, or coal, a coal cleanser, and they found out another tank must have bursted because it had fracking compounds in it. Now, if that fracking compound is even more lethal than the methanol that is going into the water supply, then therefore what they're pumping into the ground is poisoning all the groundwater. No wonder they're doing that, because that's a money-making thing. It's going to make water $3.40 a gallon, just like gasoline. Imagine that. They're going to turn water into gasoline. Virtually. Clean water will become a gasoline product. It'll cost that much to get a gallon of it. And you can't drink the groundwater out of a well anymore, because the fracking is contaminating all the groundwater. And they'll have their little, underground rivers and stuff in places where they're not fracking, where they'll get the clean water out of, so they can bottle it up and sell it to you like gasoline. It's coming, believe me. This is the fact that fracking has been linked to groundwater pollution. The board was appointed by two state legislators who received $46,700 and $43,650 in campaign donations from energy companies. They're being bribed. You got people out there taking bribes, which is illegal to do. You're not allowed to take a bribe in the government. Hell, they should be arrested right there on the spot, handcuffed, taken off their Leavenworth, and rot in a cell somewhere. January 18th. Think progress. The Obama administration is planning to approve Dow Chemicals' new GMO corn and soybean crops, engineered to tolerate 2,4-D herbicide, a very toxic herbicide. You think BT or the Roundup was toxic? You haven't got a clue. The 2,4-D weed killer is linked to birth defects, cancer, and Parkinson's disease. Alternet posted January 18th. A follow-up article. Until February 24th, people may send comments to the USDA about the plan to approve 2,4-D GMO crops. Here is the link. Go here. I guarantee you, go here. If we get enough people to say it and get on there and tell them no, they'll have to back down. If they have, say, 200 million people say no, they'll have to back down. Or the 200 million people are going to go to these places and drag their asses out. And you know what happens after that. Does Mussolini come to mind? People, they're asking for it. They already are. Video. Glenn Beck explains how the U.S. Federal Reserve hoodwinked foreign countries like Germany into giving them their gold after World War II, and how the gold was stolen in a huge Ponzi scheme. Glenn Beck, January 18th. Well, yeah, now they've got a fraction of the gold back. A fraction of it. The rest of it is missing, and they can't pay back Germany. Germany's getting upset. They said, we want our gold now. All of it. And they're not able to give it to them because it's not there. It's been doled out to everywhere to cover, paper gold and, pieces of paper that says IOU on it, and that gold doesn't exist anymore. That's why they're getting ready to do another gold confiscation in America. They're gonna confiscate your gold out of your deposit boxes at the banks. They're going to take it from anywhere they can get it. They're going to try to get this gold. Anyways, extreme skiing at Grand Targhee, Wyoming. Amazing. This guy's going off a cliff. I mean, look at that. That's a sheer cliff. That is so outstandingly wild. Here we come to our analysis for this week. Report and commentaries that look beyond the news to identify historical facts and trends that help to place the news into perspective. This is the think tank part of the newsletter. Here we go with the first video. Geneva Peace Conference. And Buhanta Saban, an advisor to Syrian President Assad, speaks passionately and we believe truthfully about what is really happening in Syria. She starts by blasting the U.S. Secretary of State, Botox John Kerry, for his statement that Assad must step down. She points out that Kerry says he wants a Syrian democracy. Yeah, democracies never last. Republicans do, or republics, where the people rule the government and not the mob rules. While his demand totally ignores the will of the Syrian people, she says that over 240 opposition groups are being supported by foreign governments, in other words, 240 mercenary groups, are being supported by foreign governments, including Saudi Arabia, Turkey, in the U.S. These are the groups that are committing terrorist crimes, not the Syrian government. Again, it's a false flag event saying that the Syrians are the bad people. They're evil. They're bad. We got to go get those bad people out of there. And they keep pushing that on the mainstream media because they're paid to lie to you about that. CNN, there's another lying transmission. January 22nd. Ty Bollinger discusses the medical and industrial benefits of hemp and why it was outlawed. Fox, January 18th. And it was. It was basically outlawed because of Dow and because of the Hearst family. Those are the two main ones that had outlawed. The Hearst family, because at that time in 1930s, he came up with a person who invented making paper out of wood. So Hearst had a bunch of acres of forest, like millions of acres of forest. Dow Chemical, well, they had nylon they were just introducing. And they want to make everything out of nylon. So shirts and pants and everything out of nylon. Which is very highly polluting, as well as making paper, because they use mercury in the paper process. And these two companies got together with the government, and they illegalized industrial hemp. And that's the truth. If you don't believe it, check it out on Google. Just Google hemp illegalized through corporations or something. I don't care how you look it up. Here's a star. This means something. This video is to keep for future reference. MIT professor Richard Landzin has challenged alarmists who blame all weather catastrophe on global warming. His reason is that any changes from warming would be too small to cause a catastrophe. The professor says that global warming hysteria is a dream come true for the politicians and Al Gore so that they can impose more taxes, gain more power, and engage in financial cronyism. Story leak, January 18th, and that's the truth about that. Global warming is a farce. They changed it to climate change. Well, they can't do that either, because climate changes all the time. Look, we're going into a temporary ice age. It may last 10 years. And that's why it's getting cold this year. It'll be cold next year. It's not going to warm up. And they can't get the money. Al Gore's tax exchange in Chicago is going to go bust because him and Blood picked the wrong gas. They picked CO2. And everything's been proved opposite of what they were saying and is inconvenient lie. That's what I call it. Anyways, video. Senator Rand Paul criticizes Obama's proposed NSA reforms. Paul says Obama has no plans to stop illegal gathering of Americans' emails, text messages, phone calls, and credit card data. So the senator has initiated a class action lawsuit against the NSA and is writing legislation to make the FISA court more fair. CNN, January 18th. Now, see, if he's doing a class action lawsuit, that means he's got a website out there where you can join the class action lawsuit, and when it finally comes down that they were wrong doing what they were doing, everybody gets a piece of the action. And it won't come out of our tax money. It'll come out of their very pockets, I hope. I hope he's suing individual millionaires involved in this. In the NSA, basically the CEO and others. And that's it for this week's headline news. Headlines you may have missed. Here's another great photo. It does look like a photo, doesn't look like a photo, but looks like a painting. This would make a great wall mural, say 6 feet high, 12 feet long. That would look nice on the wall in somebody's house or office. It just does. Here's the humor for the week. Here's another picture with the guy that does the DOS beer commercials, the XXX beer. I don't always call NSA, but when I do, it's because I forgot my password to my email. That's right. I think people should start calling up the NSA and ask for their password to their email and say you forgot what it was and demand to have it, because they should know, right? They can't even catch these guys that rob Target credit cards and stuff. They can't catch anything. It's a big joke. The whole NSA is actually a big joke. They can't do nothing hardly what they're supposed to be doing with the NSA. They're doing all the stupid stuff and collecting a paycheck. That's it. Then you got this week's Unfiltered Forum, the Reality Zone Classifieds. Check those out. Check these books out on the side, Global Warming and the Global Feudalism, which that's what they want, so they can have kings and queens and crowns and robes and prance around and have you grovel at their feet. That's exactly what that's all about. Cancer, the Forbidden Cures. Dr. Fred's Healthcare Rescue. Real solutions to healthcare, not the abomination care. There's G. Edward Griffin's original book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. The Second Dallas with RFK, the brother who was shot from behind and not in the front by Saran Saran. Leah Terrell, The Case Histories. It's a video. It tells you about 4 case histories. World Without Cancer, another one, the story of B17 with the apricot seeds. Why in the world are they spraying? Geoengineering and weather control. A Noble Lie of Oklahoma City, 1995. It tells the truth that there was bombs put inside of there and blew that out. It wasn't blown in. The van was a distraction. We got The State of Mind, where they're actually controlling you through television, media, and just propaganda. Molan Laba Alabi, how the Second Amendment guarantees America's freedom. It's our right and a God-given right to have weapons to protect ourselves from criminals, especially the governmental criminals. American Empire, an act of collective madness. And there you go. That's this week's newsletter. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. You'll be able to get the link to this down in the show more underneath the video on YouTube. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, be good at it, and good day.